Welcome to Medica Nova Wellness Studio. I'm Dr. Angelika Maria Koch with the educational videos about optimal health and the most innovative and holistic approach to your well-being. In this video, let's explore how you can manage and heal young adults' bipolar disorders with natural and effective therapeutic tools. While even healthy people experience many changes of moods throughout the day and over the course of their lifetimes, and those with manic depressions are much more prone to the abrupt and drastic ups and downs. Unfortunately, many people who do suffer from bipolar disorders are not accurately diagnosed, and in the US alone, 5 to 6 million people are in dire need. Needless to say, the ability to live life normally is in question here. Holding relationships may be difficult. Taking care of your body is even a hard task. Your work environment is affected, and the ability to communicate with others is also maybe difficult. So enjoy this video. To stay updated with my ongoing videos, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel, share and like it with your friends and families, and don't forget to click that bell as it notifies you every time I upload a new video. Yes, and thank you very much for your thumbs ups and your likes, as they do help the growth of my channel. And let's have a look at my website, medicanova.net, at the online academy, where you will find comprehensive certified home study online courses in homeopathy and health coaching, mental health, quantum healing, and so much more. So let's dive into what is bipolar disorder. Manic depression or bipolar disorders usually appears in the late teens or early adult years. So we talk about 15 to 25 years, and that's what this video is really about. It's much rarer among children or anybody 65 years and older, but 90% of bipolar disorders have visited the hospital, especially if they have difficulty managing the symptoms, and 75% they say have been to hospital more than once, several times, and that's not a good statistic. So bipolar disorder impacts just about every facet of someone's life, including that the person's thoughts, maybe bodily sensations, sleep, personality, and even behaviors. And during the high manic periods of manic depression, symptoms maybe can include restlessness or rage, even hallucinations or aggression. On the other hand, during the low episodes, symptoms which are much more common are depression, fatigue, despair, loss of motivation, and social isolation. Although the exact cause of manic depression isn't entirely known, some of the factors contributing to its development maybe include genetics, or maybe a brain chemistry is involved here. I would say childhood environment, right? Life events, the atmosphere which you experienced during your childhood, all that is prime here. But the primary difference between depression, whether it's clinical or short-term or a major depression, and manic depression, is that people with depression don't experience these manic or these high episodes. And that's why it's so difficult to diagnose, because when the bipolar person is on the high, people say, oh, he's getting better, right? He has it together again. And then, of course, there comes the fall. So those with depression tend to experience more this ongoing low moods, or suffer from maybe extreme sadness or loss of motivation, low energy for a period of time. And but they're not so much interrupted with these episodes of mania, where there is this extreme happiness, excitement, right? Overly energized, right? Talking very fast, all these behavioral examples are there. I find it really disheartening as a healthcare practitioner when parents contact me about their children who have maybe been in therapy since they're 11 years old. Can you imagine? And then with 14 years old, have been put on heavy antipsychotics medication, or even end up in a section, psychiatry section. It's just very disheartening to see, because there are other solutions out there. So please reach out, and don't go the destructive way right away. So what are the symptoms of manic depressions? Well, we talked about 2 phases, right? The first phase is characterized by this excitement and this mania, and the second phase is, really tainted by this fall and the deep, deep depression. So we have first the happy moods, the excitement. And here we have also hallucinations or psychosis or delusions. It's not uncommon that they say, I hear the voices coming back in again. And what are these voices? Well, they are sort of like build-up thought behaviors or belief systems that they are becoming a threat to the actual person who experienced them. It can be a danger. It's definitely something which makes them uncomfortable, and they want to run away from that. It can be also, if it's positive, sort of, if this in this high phase, it can be increased creativities, and these voices tell them, okay, go for this project now. But there's sort of a feeling of a paranoia involved, or can be also extreme anxiety. On the other hand, it can be expressed in irritability, aggression, and sometimes rage. So we have violence involved here. Once they are in this high state, we see insomnia, trouble sleeping normally. Again, there's this strong motivation, and suddenly, I have new plans, I'm going to go for it, and of course it never really comes to fruition. But within this phase, there can be also loss of appetite, sometimes even weight loss. We see this fast talking and this fidgety behavior. It can even go into that action that they go to the shop and spend their money just crazily on totally unnecessary items and projects. I mean, it can be completely extreme. Now we talk about the depression. Then they sink into the very low moods. Worthlessness, hopelessness, right? I'm insignificant. Nobody likes me. Aversion to the company of people. We see a tiredness. These teenagers won't get out of bed. Lack of motivation. What's the point? And then they develop this indifferent behavior. I don't care. Right? This really low mood. But here again, it can go into anxiety or this guilty feeling because they feel so low. They're not able to meet the homeworks and the school requirements. There's a lethargy and a fatigue involved, brain fog, trouble concentrating, working, making decisions is really hard, or even remembering things. Unfortunately, in this phase, we also see the tendency for suicidal thoughts coming up. And then it becomes dangerous, of course. So what are the causes of bipolar disorder or manic depression? I mentioned there could be the genetic factors. So maybe there are some mental, disorders within the family or the generations there. Chemical imbalances, which affect the brain function. So the brain lacks in nutrients. Or we have lifestyle and upbringing causes. Now, research using MRI brain scans has found that the part of the brain, and we call it the prefrontal cortex, which is also regulated, or we call it the executive functions part, which has to do with problem solving or making decisions, in people with bipolar disorders is actually smaller in size than, or less active compared to adults who don't have bipolar disorder. If you're interested in a health consultation either for yourself and or your children, contact me at Medica Nova at health@medicanova.net. Medica Nova is my practice for integrated and educational medicine. We offer a unique blend of natural and cutting-edge therapeutic tools from homeopathy, iridology, sclerology, systemic herbology, advanced biofeedback, and health and wellness coaching, and so much more. Book your appointment today. Let's move on to the second part of this video called Food for Thought, or the metaphysical meaning. As with all of my videos, I want to educate you that you don't just have a physical expression of your body. There's usually a story behind. And let's explore a little bit what could be more the causes or the triggers of you feeling depressed. I always refer to the references of Jacques Martel, and he says, I feel miserable, less than nothing. I may even feel guilty about who I am. I constantly live in the past and I find it difficult to come out of it. The present doesn't exist and the future scares me. That is such a typical, teenager attitude. It's like, my God, I just failed this exam and, I won't be able to get this job. And then I have the expectations of my parents or the society on my shoulders. All of that can throw these young adults into the bipolar disorders. It is impossible for me to live in the here and now. The current news leaves me indifferent. I feel like doing nothing. To avoid being frustrated, especially sexually, I cut myself off from all my desires and I don't feel like taking myself in charge at all. Depression is often a decisive stage in my life, and that can be adolescence, for example, or the young teens, because it forces me to question myself. I want to have a different life at all costs, right? You want to get out of the nest, you want to experience life, but I'm turned upside down between my ideals, my dreams, and reality, what's actually going on right now, between what I am and what I want to be. It is an inner imbalance. As I said, it can be based on chemical imbalance or hormonal imbalance. Bipolar disorder also happens maybe after giving birth, postnatal depression. It doesn't have to be just in the adulthood. But the idea is that the person's individuality is unrecognizable. They don't like themselves. And it often says, I feel constricted in my space and I slowly lose my taste for living, the essence of my existence. I feel useless, miserable, lazy, and often a burden to others. I tend to be easily resigned. And I give up. I feel like resigning. Life is not worth it. I put great pressure on myself to contain my emotions and bury them deep inside of me. But when this pressure becomes too high, then depression sets in. Now, this pressure may also come, as I said, from the parents, right? They maybe expect their child to perform very well. It can be also my spouse, my boss, or simply society in general. The obligation to succeed, to have a good reputation, to project the image of having a successful marriage maybe, and a family life, all contribute to increasing my stress. Demand more and more of me and set the bar way too high. As soon as an event occurs, or they say it, pops the cork, so to say, the depression sets in. Now, in other terms, depression has its source in a situation involving my territory, namely what belongs to my vital space, including persons, animals, or things. So what is the positive affirmation, or what could you tell the young adult, how to manage these constant, abrupt, and really strong feelings of up and downs? I'm going to start with, I accept to stand back and examine my life, right? Don't judge here, really take it for face value and said, this is what's going on, but it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. or there's something wrong with me. I take a detached look at what happens to me and I accept to see what lessons I must learn. I focus my attention on my priorities and realize that life has been providing me with many, many gifts. I allow myself to have a good time, rest and pull myself together in order to regain my energy and my ideas. I thus regain control over my life and find the energy needed to complete all of my projects. I accept that I'm unique. Yeah, I'm special and I have different ideas and, I'm different from others. So what's wrong with that? I have all I need to change my destiny, and I consciously choose to let the caterpillar transform itself into a butterfly. And I think this is such a great metaphor because the adult is still growing, developing, and it is like a caterpillar. It's a metamorphosis into something so beautiful, so stunning, and so unique. So take that feeling into your heart and say, I'm going to be the butterfly and not just stay in the caterpillar phase forever. So I can choose between dropping or fighting. Drop these feelings of, life is not worth living. I stop resisting and forcing things to go my way. I discipline myself, and that's a key here as well, starting one thing at a time and taking care to finish it. By acting responsibly, I gain more freedom and my efforts are rewarded. I begin to do projects again, to dream and create my life as I want to, in a way that respects who also I am. And I'm simply myself by ceasing to put futile pressure on myself, and the depression will therefore disappear. I see bipolar disorders often in young adults who actually have perfectionist tendency, right? Who want everything perfect and right. And so the bar is really high, the stakes are high. And, to achieve that is just such a hard path. It's almost like, they have to learn how to work, smarter than harder here. And it can be done. So if you want to explore more about yourself, your wellness vision, what motivates you, and how to apply your strengths in achieving the very best of you, contact Medica Nova Wellness Coaching at health@medicanova.net for your 3 months coaching program. I am coaching you to be well. Let's dive into the natural treatment protocols. Bipolar disorders is a progressive and can worsen over time disease if left undiagnosed. But, as I said, there are solutions. And some people wind up having more drastic mood swings or episodes, we call them, and more frequently as others. And as time goes on and symptoms are not treated, sure, they get worse. But it doesn't have to be that way. And really, we start here with educating yourself about what bipolar disorder is actually about, right? So you can recognize that there are these high and up phases and then the low phases. So you recognize the early symptoms right when they happen, and so you know what to do about it. And that means your parents need to educate themselves, or you parents, I'm talking to you, as well as the teenager, right? Or the young adult. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a stigma, but it can be treated. I always say cognitive behavioral therapy is a must here because it helps to recognize the underlying thought patterns that trigger the mood swings. Right? What happened at school? What happened with your relationship? Was there a breakup in a relationship? What happened with your friends? All of that, is then, just brings you to the understanding that, that was the reason why I feel now so low. Or now I understand why my anxiety is so high. Exercise is really important here because it not only helps you to build confidence, helps you to get a better sleep. You also have this feeling, taking care of your body, you're in charge again a little bit more. And also it connects you to people, right? You go to the gym, you see people, and it just gets you out of this funk. Don't underestimate diet. Now, you might be surprised to know how much altering your diet can change how you feel. Some studies have found that those who eat diets high in processed and fast foods are up to 60% more likely to suffer from depression compared to people who eat more healthier diet. As part of an antidepressant diet, I encourage you to avoid foods which have a lot of sugar, added sodium, artificial ingredients. This is here a big part, in addition to greatly cutting back or eliminating caffeine and alcohol. The connection between your brain and your gut is super important, and what connects these two is the vagus nerve. We call the gastrointestinal tract also the second brain. So if you eat unhealthy, your brain is affected. It's super, super important that you really start educating yourself about feeding the brain with healthy nutrients. And it starts on your plate. Now, I mentioned it in my last video, but Medica Nova is now offering the complete cellular detoxification program. I think it should be at least taken once a year, and right now we have a 25% discount. It's an absolute steal. It's one of the most advanced and well-researched detoxification programs on the market. So really go for it now, because that would be ideal here. Now, when people with manic depression add, for example, just a high quality probiotic supplement to their routine, the rate of hospitalization from manic episodes goes down significantly. So just even adding in the morning your probiotic, which helps to rebalance the microflora, the bowel flora within your gastrointestinal tract, is super important here. And, it's not surprising, because we do have the gut-brain connection that greatly influences mental health. Reduce your stress, if you can, right? And you can. Right? You just have to make that first step and really surround yourself with friends and peers and people who are reaffirming, who are creative, who are positive, right? Rather than people who have a lot of problems. Of course they need help, but it's not always up to you to sort out their problems. Bring, as I said, cognitive behavioral therapy, but also maybe some yoga, some meditation. I love Qigong, and in the description box I will put in some links for you where you can learn on YouTube how to do Qigong. It's fantastic, one of my favorites. And of course, herbs and supplements. You need to bring in, next to, you want to get away from the antipsychotic, anti-anxiety, antidepressant drugs. You want to bring in some substitutes in here. Herbs and supplements are necessary. I would say, because your adrenals are affected and, your cortisol is often high, bringing an Ayurvedic herb called ashwagandha. Ginseng is very good. Holy basil is another Ayurvedic herb. Rhodiola, wonderful helps here. More on the Western herbology, we have St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum is a great antidepressant, as well as omega-3 fatty acids. They're derived from fish oil. Bring them in. So let's talk about homeopathic remedies. Now, often in other videos I mentioned, once you go more into a healthy lifestyle, change your diet, bringing some herbs or supplements and some homeopathic remedies, you really see the benefits. Now, Here, I would say homeopathic remedies has to be on the top of the list. They're really important here, and they're not only beneficial for bipolar disorders, but they really eliminate the disorders from its roots, and that's what we want. We don't want just a one-size-fits-all remedy for anxiety and depression. Here, the homeopath will take a detailed history of the patient. So we want to know what is your individual expression of the bipolar disorders, and according to that, the remedy will be chosen. Of course, you can't do that by yourself, and here I am. So for guidelines and to book your appointments, contact my practice, Medica Nova, at health@medicanova.net, or your healthcare practitioner. Homeopathy offers specific remedies for these individual phases. So the first phase would be the manic phase, we want to focus on today. And here I had great success with a remedy called Lilium ticrinum. Remember, with the manic stage, we see a lot of fidgetiness, running around, high energy, and that's where this remedy really comes into play. Extreme restlessness, difficulty in sitting still in one place. There's this hurriedness, right, without any ambition or any aim. We also see on the physical aspect there can be maybe some heart or uterine ailments or diseases combined with the mental illness. I'm not saying it's just in the brain, but Lilium ticrinum is a wonderful remedy. We also use cannabis indica, but not in the herbal form. We use it in the homeopathic form. And here we see more noticeable symptoms of this uncontrollable laughter on listening to every little word spoken. It looks like they're stoned, right? And yet, they haven't taken any cannabis, but the behavior is like, completely out of sort and really into the extreme. There's this excessive talkativeness involved. They laugh about everything, although it's not really funny, and you don't know how to relate to these people anymore, right? And so there's a lot of, in cannabis indica patients, the idea that the brain is full of thoughts, and the thoughts are crowding in the brain at one time all together, and that's why they talk very fast. And but even the patient is forgetful of the words when they're talking, so it's like a very confusing situation. We talked about in the manic phase, there can be this violent and aggressive behavior. And rather than, putting them on heavy antipsychotic medication or even section these young adults, try something else. There are solutions. And here one remedy comes to mind. It's called belladonna. Belladonna is well indicated for patients with bipolar disorders who show violent behavior and violence which occurs sort of like quite out of the blue. It comes quite suddenly, and the patient even maybe bites or strikes the person near him or her. So you see this biting a lot. Another symptoms of the violence of belladonna is often then that they come close to the person's face, they spit into the person's face, and their face becomes very red. They're really upset, right? Belladonna is a fantastic remedy for that. Another one is called Veratrum album. And here the symptoms calling for its use are this excessive shrieking, screaming, and a lot of destructive behavior, mainly presenting in the forms of destroying, cutting, tearing things, or maybe tear their clothes. You see that a lot. It can also applied maybe in cases of violent mania that start in women after childbirth. Right, Veratrum album, we see then here the postnatal depression, but which goes into the manic part first. Another one is Hyoscyamus niger. Wonderful remedy here. Here we see the desire to run from home, right? I want to get out of it. But also they pick at their bedclothes, they sit in their room alone, they quarrel a lot with others. But here the keynote is then it goes into the shamelessness, where the patient maybe tends to remove his or her clothes or sings obscene songs, where it really goes far out here. Alzheimer's Negers is wonderful. Now we talk about the depressive phase, right, where we really see the sadness as the main symptoms, and the remedy Ignatia Mara is a god sent here. No antidepressive medication is needed here. Ignatia Mara often, is here the solution. The patients requiring this medicine usually have a history of long-held grief, right? Like the death of a family member, maybe the relationship of the boyfriend or girlfriend just broke up. It's so common among young adults. Or the whole thing has, as I said, originated, the whole situation about a disappointed love. It also is often related to the suppressed emotions. So they experience it and then they keep it all inside, right? And they don't talk about it. They only cry alone in their room, or hardly, express anything towards their friends. This is when Ignatia Mara comes to play. So they brood a lot, they sit quietly, they brood over the past. Life is, not really worth living anymore. I'm not saying yet at that stage is suicidal, but grief, loss, sadness is really the main feeling here. Another remedy is called Sepia officinalis. It's the cuttlefish. It's very beneficial for treating sadness during the depression stage of bipolar disorders. And the main symptoms of using this remedy are this constant weeping. But here we see the indifferent behavior, right? I don't care anymore. Indifferent even to loved ones. It's not that they don't love them. They just feel like bland and I don't care anymore. If that comes in, women going through menopause, you see that often. This feeling like I'm exhausted. I love my loved ones. I love my spouse. I love my children. But I feel like, I need a break. I need a holiday. This kind of feeling. So there's a lack of interest in doing any mental or physical work. Another remedy is called Umbra grisea, is another great remedy, great help for the treatment of sadness in bipolar diseases, where the cause was or marks its origin through some kind of business loss, right, with continuous weeping for many days. And yes, then in the depressive phase, we do have the very dangerous phase where we deal with suicidal thoughts, but even here homeopathy has something to offer. The main remedy is orometallicum. It's an excellent remedy for treating those cases of depression in bipolar disorders where the suicidal thoughts predominate and the patient feels hopeless, worthless, and has these persistent suicidal thoughts. They won't act upon it, but it's alarming, of course, for the parents if their young adults say, listen, I don't want to live anymore. I want to just take myself out. Of course, right? The alarm bells go up. I've had great success with orometallicum. It takes the patients out of this black hole, so at least they have their head above water, and then we can take the next step. Another remedy would be natrium sulfuricum. It's a great remedy here for this situation as well. Often he or she has to apply much actually self-control to stop themselves from actually committing suicide. And another symptom which calls for this remedy is this gloominess. When even listening to live music makes them sad. Nothing just makes them really happy anymore. Aversion to talking or being spoken to. Natrium sulfuricum is a fantastic remedy. Of course, we have other remedies like carcinosum, lachesis, lithium carbonicum, medorrhinum staphysaceae, and so on. But I just, in this video, want to give you some ideas and educate you that there are other natural solutions out there than always just, looking for the antidepressants or the anti-anxiety medication. So I hope that today's video is giving you more of an encouragement and a light by the end of the tunnel, that there are natural solutions. Today I presented a more serious topic. I'm aware about it. And treating yourself via this over-the-counter homeopathic remedies, which you can find in your health food store or online, of course, it's not advisable here, right? Usually in all my videos, I say, go to the health food store, go and buy this. No. Here you need homeopath, a professional homeopath trained, and also, contact your healthcare practitioner. But for more guidelines and how to take these remedies or want to discuss your bipolar disorder, please contact my practice, Medica Nova Health at medicanova.net, and book your appointment. And have a look at my website, medicanova.net, at the online academy, where you will find comprehensive home study online courses. So if you ever wanted to learn anything about homeopathy for your whole family, for your loved ones, and how to apply it for yourself, or as another course for homeopathy during pregnancy, birth, and postnatal care, or you always wanted to learn about health and wellness coaching, or what can you do with mental illness, right? And here we talk about Alzheimer's next to depression and anxiety and all of that as well. Here you have your home study online courses. There are university standard courses, because I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of New Mexico, where I teach many students. And so I know what teaching is really about. They're often 16 weeks to 8 weeks, and there will be lots of provided study material, audios, Zoom meetings. So I will guide you step by step through this whole process. And don't forget to have a look at the complete cellular detoxification program. Right now, 25% discount, so it's a fantastic deal here. We also offer the holistic smoking cessation program, which is a 3 months coaching program. So there's a little bit for everyone out there, right? So till next time, much love, take care.